Welcome to BabyCenter's We See You Roundtable. Maternal mental health needs to be at the forefront of discussions, and we are aiming to do just that tonight. This topic is real, it's raw, and we want you to know we see you and we're here to help. I'm Olivia DeLong. I'm the senior health editor at BabyCenter and a mom of a 2.5-year-old daughter. I also experience postpartum anxiety, and it's something I still work on each and every day. I'm honored to moderate this conversation tonight with this talented, knowledgeable, and experienced panel. Thank you to everyone who's joining us, to our panelists especially, and our sponsor, Baby Dove. Just to put things into perspective, globally, 1 in 7 moms and 1 in 10 dads experience postpartum depression. 93% of our own BabyCenter community moms believe it's important for moms to prioritize their recovery and well-being after giving birth. And that's why we are all here tonight. Many of us have just gone through 2 of the toughest years during the COVID-19 pandemic. While these times were challenging and very isolating for many, we do think these times have encouraged more parents to speak up about some of these challenges we're facing and lessen the stigma associated with these issues. Without further ado, and before we dive deep, I'd love to introduce our amazing panelists. Welcome, everybody. Dr. Ifat Hoskins is a mother of 2 and the current president of ACOG. She's a clinical professor and director of patient safety in the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology at NYU School of Medicine. Dr. Hoskins treats women with high-risk pregnancies as a maternal fetal medicine subspecialist. She served 29 years with the U.S. Navy and Marine Corps, and she's involved in March of Dimes, the Ronald McDonald House, and the American Red Cross. I had the pleasure of meeting you, Dr. Hoskins, last week, and we are just so honored for you to be here with us tonight. And congratulations on your new role as president of ACOG and your maternal mental health initiative this year.
Thank you so
Mandy
much.
Major, welcome. Mandy Major is a mom, postpartum doula, founder of Major Care, and creator of the My Fourth app, which blends guided learning with on-call care for the 4th trimester. She currently serves on our own BabyCenter Medical Advisory Board, and in addition to birth work, she holds an MA from Columbia Journalism School and writes on perinatal topics in an effort to raise awareness on postpartum issues and be an advocate for new parents. Thank you so much, Mandy. I look forward to learning more about what parents can do as they're navigating the postpartum period. Jen Davis, next up, is the Chapters and Affiliates Director at Postpartum Support International. Jen is a mother of 2 who silently struggled with postpartum depression and anxiety, despite having very normal pregnancy and birthing experiences. She is passionate about supporting mothers and families dealing with perinatal mental health, has a BA in psychology, an MPA in public administration, is a certified pregnancy health coach, and a peer mentor at PSI. Thank you so much for being here, Jen, and being so open to sharing your story and advice for parents. That was a mouthful. What a wonderful and talented group we have. I'm just going to get right into our topic areas because I know we have a lot to cover tonight. Just a reminder that we won't be taking questions in the Q&A section of Zoom because we've already asked our BabyCenter moms in a survey, and we're going to be talking through these questions that came up during the survey. Tonight in our We See You Roundtable discussion, we will aim to raise awareness for postpartum depression and anxiety, bridge the gap between the medical community and pregnant women and parents, share very real life experiences, offer takeaways for parents to help navigate the postpartum period. Dr. Hoskins, I'm ready for you to kick us off with some definitions. Just so everyone knows, 76% of BabyCenter moms said that in the past 2 weeks, they have felt nervous, anxious, or on edge. Dr. Hoskins, can you please walk us through what postpartum depression is and what the symptoms are, and the same with postpartum anxiety?
Thank you so much, Olivia. I'm so honored to join the group today. This, as you mentioned, Minding Mental Health is my initiative for my presidential year with ACOG. This is a very important topic. It is also a difficult topic, as you've alluded to, because the numbers you have quoted and the definition that I will be sharing with us tonight is really probably not a fully accurate piece of information. There are people who may not necessarily nail down the problem in terms of their symptoms, and we'll talk about that. And there are people who know that there's something wrong, but don't admit to it or seek care or all of the above. And therefore, those numbers are not really accurate. So I often will say to patients and colleagues, it is at least that, but it's probably more. So having said that, you asked for the definitions, and I have two ways of giving definitions to our patients and to our colleagues. One is straight out of the medical evidence-based scientific literature, which is that, I spoke about this in my ACOG speech just 2 days ago. There's a concept called Maternal Euthymia, EUTHYMIA. It's a technical term, no need to remember it, but it just means psychological wellness, well-being. So if somebody is at the center, complete center of their mental state or their healthcare, they are right exactly where they should be. That's the foundation, that's the tree trunk, etc. And anything that digresses on one side or the other, good or bad, we try to bring it back towards that center, which would be sort of the gold standard, because that would be the best for any mother and her child. In terms of the definition, anything that feels off-center, that's a simple way of thinking about it. I feel unusual, I feel different, I don't feel normal, this is not my usual. But having said that, so that's why it's a spectrum. But having said that, there are feelings of palpitations, your heart racing, you feeling scared, you're feeling as though the walls are closing in on you, that's all the postpartum anxiety. Am I doing the right thing because I am caring for another human being, another living person who doesn't speak my same language? I don't speak crying and colic, as a new parent. So obviously I'm terrified that I'm hurting the baby hasn't eaten or done whatever it's supposed to do. And we all know mothers learn over time what each different aspect of a baby's cry or discomfort or communication is. Postpartum depression, on the other hand, is very expected. It is very common. It's in the high 80%, low 90% of all women who give birth. Just to put it into perspective, there are approximately 4 million live births every year. So if you put 80% or 80+% of 4 million, that's a lot of mothers out there who are going to have aspects of postpartum depression. We've all heard about it in terms of baby blues, etc. And it is expected, it is normal. In fact, we look askance at people who say, oh no, I never felt anything bad. I just felt everything super, very nice, very happy, very pleasant. And the reason is not your fault. It's not the lack of sleep. It's not all these other things that we all talk about, but they're truly massive hormonal shifts after the woman has delivered, because the placenta, which makes a lot of the hormones supporting the pregnancy, has now gone. And so those high levels of the pregnancy hormones are now decreasing at very fast, rapid rates. And that causes changes in the mental ability to balance oneself in terms of euthymia. So baby blues is normal. But like you asked, Olivia, postpartum depression, that is the concept where it's more than that. I should be happy. This is a joyous time. I should be enjoying my baby, my loved one, my partner, my family members, and I just don't feel like it. It could be to the point where you have no interest in anything in life. You don't want to get up. You don't want to clean yourself. You don't want to get dressed. You just want to lie there. And when you lie there in a calm, still manner, you tend to feel a little better, because that is a little bit of a counter towards postpartum anxiety and postpartum depression. I know I said it in a very global, roundabout way, but I wanted you to see how complex and complicated it is, from a very simple aspect to a thing that goes to the other end of the pendulum, where you're just sort of lying in bed and have no motivation to do anything. The baby may be crying, or your mind tells you the baby has needs, but you're not able to do it. So again, if I had to say one sentence instead of this whole big thing, I would say be aware that if you feel off center, if you don't feel normal, that is the situation. Postpartum XYZ, you can call it anything you want. That is the situation, and it should be addressed. You don't necessarily have to correct it. You should address it and acknowledge it.
I love that explanation, and we're going to get into some ways to acknowledge it and get help later on. But that was such an easy thing. If you're not feeling right, if you're feeling like you can't get out of bed, there's definitely something that needs to be addressed. So I think that's the main thing to take away. You touched on the hormonal changes. Is there anything else that's causing these changes, during pregnancy and during the postpartum periods? Is there anything else you want to talk about there?
Yes, I do. But going back to the topic that I just left, one of the things is you want to corral your loved ones. You want to give them homework. Tell them to keep an eye on you. Tell them to notice if you're off center, if you're not being your usual self, if you're, people have known you and they say, no, this is not the real her. So that's another aspect, because you may miss it in yourself. Going back to what Olivia was asking, are there other things other than the pregnancy hormones? Of course there are. There is also the fact that you're lactating that causes physiological changes because you are trying to breastfeed a baby. There are also the fact that, your sleep patterns are dysrhythmic, so to speak, they're disturbed. So that can cause problems. It can be also that you yourself as a mom want to be a super person to do it correctly. So your internal stress hormones like cortisol that come out of your adrenal gland, everybody has been through basic biology through school, fight, flight, fright. That is the hormone that protects you. And when there is a danger that is perceived by the human mind and the human body, these substances get revved up because you have to protect yourself and get away from that perceived danger, real or perceived. So that model, because here there's a potential danger to your baby, to yourself, it's, you've just delivered. So those hormones get misfired, so to speak. Even though you're safe at home, even though you're in a rocking chair in the baby's nursery, they may get revved up and you feel that sensation that you're not doing anything correct. And those are the stress hormones. So there's several others, but on the spectrum, you can see how variable they are. It could be something as unusual as your sleep patterns are changed because of the baby's time cycle is different from that of an adult. It could be that you had a loved one or some paid person or a friend come in and stay in your environment during the day, during the night, things get changed and shaken up a bit. It could be that you and your partner, your loved one, or a relative have now developed a different relationship because there's a third item in there, your loved baby. It could be the stress hormones. It could be the breastfeeding. It could be, again, the placental hormones. It could be the bleeding. There are mothers who call us and say, everything was fine until I thought I was passing clots, or until I thought I was bleeding more than I normally had expected, or more than 3 days ago. All these things will rev you up. Remember, it's survival of the fittest. Mother Nature has created it that a mother's job after the baby is born is to protect the baby and herself, because that is the survival of the species. If you understand it that way, your body is going to do all kinds of things towards survival of the species. And then you can say, this, I'm off. It wasn't like this when I was pregnant. It wasn't like this before I got pregnant. It wasn't like this. And I know Olivia will and others will talk about this. You could have had 2 or 3 prior children and it wasn't like that. So it's not always the first one. It's not always each pregnancy. So if something is off, if that tree trunk in the center is a little off, that's where you have to say. And my last comment, I won't take up all the oxygen, I promise, is the fact that you should tell your medical person, whoever you believe in, you should bring it up. It is better for the person to say, don't worry, this is okay, versus the other. I find that my heart breaks when I have to say to patients, I wish you had told me earlier, we could have done something. I wish you had, sought care earlier, 3 days ago, 1 month ago, whatever it is. The regret is heartbreaking. So you want to bring it up earlier, steel yourself, remind yourself. Maybe the most likely thing is Dr. Olivia will say it's nothing to worry about, everything is fine. You don't feel stupid, you corrected it, you checked it, and that's what you need. That is your job towards yourself and your baby. Seek the care, discuss the situation. So that's your homework.
Thank you for that. I mean, I related to that personally. I felt like with my postpartum anxiety, I was always wondering, I'm doing something wrong, thinking I was doing something wrong because it was the first time that I had been through this. And I think a lot of parents are there just constantly worrying, did I put them down in the crib too soon? Everything is a worry. And so it's really important to address that and get help as soon as you recognize that that's happening. Some of it's normal, and we'll talk about that too. One of the things that came up, Dr. Hoskins, when we were doing our survey was, some women have one of these mental health conditions with one baby. Is it an automatic that they're going to have it with a second or a third child?
I think that's probably one of the most important discussion points today, because it is not automatic. It's not automatic in terms of the quantity or the spectrum of what a person feels. It's not automatic in terms of the chronology, in terms of how many children, how many babies. It's not automatic in terms of when, the timing in relation to the childbirth. It's not automatic somebody in the chat was talking about a different point, but saying it can go all the way up to 1 year. Nothing is automatic, nothing. Just say to yourself, it's my job. It's my job to protect my baby and myself. I don't need to mind if someone tells me you overreacted. I don't need to feel embarrassed because I said to a friend or a loved one or my primary care doctor or my obstetrician, or call the office and speak to the nurse. I don't need to feel bad. I am going to do whatever it takes to protect my baby and myself. Once you get into that mindset, I may say behind a patient's back, my God, she's calling again. She did the same thing. Or, she's asked 15 questions instead of one. It doesn't matter. It's not affecting your life. Your job is to protect yourself and your baby. And having escaped it first, second, third, fourth pregnancy, and then getting it subsequently, or the other way around. You got a terrible, terrible situation first pregnancy. It'll make you more anxious. It'll make you more worried for the future ones. It may not happen to that extent. So it's your job to protect yourself and your baby.
I love that. What a good takeaway from that whole entire topic. So I know there's not a whole lot that we can do to prepare. We don't know how we're going to feel. We don't know about the hormonal changes that we're going to go through. But I do want to talk, Dr. Hoskins and Mandy, about during pregnancy, what can we do to kind of prepare for these challenges postpartum? Dr. Hoskins, can you go through how to go about talking to your provider during pregnancy, even for women who have maybe depression or anxiety going into pregnancy as well?
Thank you so much. Again, preparation is very good, very good. So the more you prepare in anything, that's very good. So here, I love the question that how do you prepare to pick it up, to discuss about it, to address it, to identify it. So how do you prepare? You don't have to open a medical textbook and say, I need to know the medical signs and symptoms of a medical condition, in this case, postpartum depression. You don't need to know that, or about anxiety. What you do need to know is the fact that, think of it, many mothers prepare a lot. I have a birth plan. I want to know about epidural and pain management. I want to know where I'm going to deliver. They might say, I'm going to check out 2 or 3 options of doctors, midwives, doulas, this clinic, that hospital. We do a lot of preparation because we want the best for our child and for ourselves. We have to do the same preparation because if my mind is not strong, if my head is not correct around that time, it is going to affect a lot of other physical, other things, safety things, all kinds of things that'll happen. So how do you prepare? You try to get to know yourself first. I often say to the patients, I don't know you. I can't understand whether, you get revved up every time you see a red bus pass by because as a child, you missed the bus on your way to school. I don't know what your triggers are. I don't know the things that make you feel better. You know yourself. So you need to use that as your central point. This is me. This is my fence. This is my space. As things start teetering, whether it's the foundation that shakes a little bit, or one of those edges of the fence is beginning to get a little rocky in relation to how you feel. For example, I've never felt not motivated to get up in the morning. For example, I'm sitting here speaking with Olivia and Mandy and Jen, and suddenly I burst into tears and I don't know why. I've never felt so anxious. The baby's sleeping. I go in there, check, baby's fine. I come and sit down. I'm revved up again. I wonder what's going on. Is my baby safe? These are unusual things, and you don't have to say, oh, everything is fine. I'm in the middle of Manhattan or the middle of Queens. It's a civilized area. There's no reason to worry. There's not a bear coming through my window or whatever. You have to first acknowledge, this is not me. I didn't feel this way before. This is not how I usually react to concerns. So get to know yourself, remind yourself, underline what you really are, define it. Then say anything out of that, I am going to identify that as outside the me, the box, the fence. Then you work out with your person during the pregnancy, whether it's the midwife or the doctor, whoever, or even the doctor's nurse. Build a relationship and say, there will be questions, and who's the best person whom I can call? Do I call you first? Do I call the doctor, answering service, whatever? Make your preparation and plans now. And then I often say to my patients, if you come into a visit to me and you have no questions, I have failed. You have to have questions. You have to dig in deep. That means that I am giving you some mixed messages that everything is fine and there's nothing to address, nothing to discuss. So go in prepared, even though you don't have to learn the medical symptoms, prepare towards asking questions. The questions related to the first trimester are going to be different to the middle trimester. I mean, I don't want to piss off the community, but sometimes a patient is 10 or 12 weeks and she wants to discuss breastfeeding. Of course, it's important, but on the other hand, there are many other things that need to be addressed as well around that time. So make your little chapters, make your little spaces in the 9 months of the pregnancy, and say to your person, your doctor, your midwife, your nurse, I will be asking you questions along the way. It will teach you to do it because you're going to bring it out into the open. You're going to put it in the universe. I'm going to have questions. I'm going to need additional information. The best preparation you can have is keep an open mind. Ask a lot of questions. You can, many times patients say, well, this is a really silly question, but well, it's not silly because it's occurring to you. And if you keep your job in mind of your own safety and your baby, then you will be very comfortable to bring up anything at all. You can say to your doctor, if you want to get technical, you can say, look, it's my first time, or I didn't happen to me before, but what kinds of things should I be looking for? You can get a litany of medical discussion back and forth. Look for this, look for that, focus on this. Or you can keep it very simple and say, this is me. This is how I feel every day in my life. Anything that's out of it, I have decided I'm going to tell doctor so-and-so, or nurse so-and-so, or midwife so-and-so, and follow your own instructions. The same way your teacher gave you homework, or you tell other people, do this, I'm delegating the work. Delegate the work to yourself that you will follow the rules, which are prepare yourself, you will ask questions, and your job, keep your job in mind to keep yourself and your baby healthy. Everything else will fall in place. You don't have to learn anything. If my heart rate is above this number, if I am teary in the afternoon versus the morning, if it's now 9 days after my delivery, if it's now 9 months after my delivery, you don't have to learn anything. Just know yourself and promise yourself, or teach you, and you got to practice. Teach yourself anything outside this, I'm going to bring it up. You can even do a positive. You can say, it's now I'm in my 6th month. I feel fine, and I'm anticipating I won't be depressed or anxious down the road. And I'm feeling so much joy for this baby, whatever it is. That will give you an opportunity to later say, I thought I was going to feel good. I did feel good up to this point, but then everything fell apart. Practice, practice, practice to have open conversations.
I really like that. And I think something I did with my pregnancy is my husband and I kept notes every day when we would have a question. Because when you get to the doctor, oftentimes you forget everything and you're flustered, and you feel bad asking because, they have a lot to do. So we just kept a little journal and a little notebook, and we had questions for each visit, each appointment, depending on what it was for. So that could be a good way to keep track of the questions as they come up.
And no disclaimer to the doctor. No disclaimer. I know you're very busy, but because I often get told that by my patients, I'm busy with patient care. You are the same important patient as another patient. So don't start by giving disclaimers. I know you're busy, so I didn't want to ask this, or I didn't want to bring that up. It's just do your job. Your job is to look after yourself and your baby. How you get there, there's lots of choices. We're trying to teach you the tricks.
Thank you for that reminder. Mandy, do you have anything to add as far as prepping for, postpartum mental health issues during pregnancy or even beforehand?
I do. And just to piggyback on what Dr. Hoskins was saying, I always encourage my clients to be that person. Don't be like, oh, I don't want to be that person to bother to ask the questions. Be that person. Ask those questions. And postpartum planning, that is what I am all about as a postpartum doula. And so I have 5 things that I wanted to cover just to help give people some tactical things that they can do ahead of time for that postpartum planning. And as Dr. Hoskins mentioned, we get really excited about the birth. It's also this milestone, right? This thing, it's a lot to take in. And so oftentimes we spend all of our time planning for that birth. And then we get a little bit of tunnel vision. We think I'll figure it out later. The postpartum is this great unknown, but this is my PSA to carve out a little bit of extra time to answer some basic questions before the baby arrives. So working with your partner or support person to think about, who do you want in your home? How will you feed yourself? Who can support siblings and your fur babies? All of these things might sound basic, but altogether, they can lead to a lot of overwhelm, and they can really chip away at your emotional health. The second is to consider, if you're pregnant, or considering conceiving, consider your mental health history prior. prior to the pregnancy and pull together the appropriate care team. So a lot of times we think our OBGYN is the end all be all of our care providers, and they are central to our care. They do so much, but they can't be all things. So we want to pull together a care team that really fits your personal circumstances and needs. So if you're on medication, don't hide that. Talk about it early, game plan, ideally with your primary care physician, your OBGYN, and ideally a reproductive psychiatrist. If you've experienced depression, anxiety, OCD, or other conditions in the past, air that out. Let your OBGYN know, and make sure you get some support in place. And the same with issues of substance misuse. Substance misuse and mental health go hand in hand. So acknowledging that history, acknowledging the needs of just how hard new parenthood is, so that you can put support systems in place to maintain your sobriety and your recovery, whatever that may be for you. Really quick, just a couple other things. As you're doing that postpartum planning, I really encourage folks, like your second or third trimester is a great time. Carve out an afternoon and sit down with your partner or support person. Learn what your employer offers and what your insurance covers. We really don't want you to be waiting until you're suffering before you explore what's available to you, because the overwhelm is real, and usually we don't want to wait until it's really like you're really suffering before you're getting that help. So a lot of employers will offer what's called an EAP, an employee assistance program. And that's something, even with major care, we work with employers to offer our services to their employees. So you might have something that's like no cost or low cost to you. So it's called an EAP, dedicated to mental health or parenthood. Also for your insurance, like, is mental health covered? Are telehealth visits covered? Maybe there's a hotline, or you get 10 free behavioral health sessions. So understanding what's available to you can be really, really helpful. And then as you're pulling all that information together, I really encourage families to create a sheet, like a contact sheet of those resources. So who are the providers in your network? What services can you access, both in network or out of pocket if needed? And then also free options. So I know as part of this webinar, we're going to be sharing a number of free confidential warm lines and hotlines. Those are a terrific option. So have those in your back pocket so you can lean on them. And then the fifth thing that I'll share and I'll wrap it up, is just getting those non-clinical safeguards in place. So those support safeguards. I feel really passionately talking about our gridded out culture in America. We really have this culture where we need to do everything and be everything, and suffering is part of a sacrifice that is expected. And I just really fight against that. I want to say absolutely not. And being a new parent is hard, and it is overwhelming, but it shouldn't be debilitating. I love Dr. Hoskins' point of that tree trunk. You know yourself, it shouldn't be debilitating. So ahead of what we call clinical outcomes, I encourage people to do that non-clinical support. So enlisting friends to be part of a text squad that they're texting you every day, just thinking about you or checking in, knowing that you might not respond, having that connection so you don't feel so isolated with what you're going through, or just being a new parent can be really isolating. Setting up a meal train with your community or even a virtual one. And then I highly recommend looking at your registry, getting services onto your registry in addition to all of the stuff. So I know all the things for the baby, it really takes priority. You want to have a lovely nursery, you want to have all the things, but think about the services that can support you and your mental health and your physical self. So if you go to that registry and you have 99% of things for the baby, I highly encourage you to get things on there, like line items, things that your neighborhood or your friends can do for you, or paid services. Of course, I'm a doula, I'm biased. I think everyone deserves and could benefit from a doula, not only for the support, but also for that early intervention and that screening for mental health concerns to make sure that you're in a good supported place throughout your fourth trimester and beyond.
Thank you, Mandy. I really love those tips. I would highly recommend doing these things in the second trimester, just in case your little one tries to come early, like mine did.
And like mine
then
did.
You kind of just don't think about any of
And Jen
that.
too.
Yeah.
There you go.
So second trimester, maybe. Those are great tips. Thank you. And now, Jen, I can't wait for you to share your story. I just can't thank you enough for being so open to sharing your story about postpartum depression and anxiety. So can you just kind of take us through your journey with postpartum depression and anxiety? And I know I mentioned earlier, but your pregnancies and your births were pretty normal. So also discuss that a little bit too, Jen.
Sure. And thank you so much for just having me and inviting me to this space to talk about my experiences. So as you mentioned, and I'll always start by this, so both of my pregnancies were normal. I experienced what many would consider easy pregnancies. I didn't have any health scares. With my daughter, I didn't even have morning sickness with my daughter. With my son, did have morning sickness, but that was it. My delivery and my labor experiences, nothing traumatic. So I felt very fortunate and blessed. But I also was not prepared for what I would feel and experience postpartum. And my experiences were different for both of my children. So starting with my 9-year-old, she's 9 years old now, my daughter. So I remember being released from the hospital and then walking through the doors of my home when I got back and just having this overwhelming feeling of fear. Just like, okay, what am I supposed to do now? I almost felt like they were supposed to keep me there longer because I wasn't ready. And I know this is quite normal. Like this was my first child for first-time parents, new parents. But for someone like me, who I consider myself a worrier anyway, the feelings of fear just heightened during this time, and they were kind of consuming me. So I was worried and anxious literally about everything. So what if she stops breathing while she's sleeping? What if while I'm holding her and I'm walking, I fall and she gets hurt? What if I get into a car accident, going to the doctor's appointment? What if she chokes on milk? What if in 6 years she's on a school bus and somebody hurts her? Like my thinking was so, it wasn't even just in the now. Like I just was worried about things that might happen in 5 to 10 years. Just what if? And the feelings like prevented me from sleeping normal. I would say for a couple of months, I probably slept maximum 3, maybe 4 hours a day, just because I was worried all the time. I didn't eat normally. At night, when it was time for my daughter to go to sleep, I only wanted her to sleep on me. I wasn't even comfortable with her sleeping in the crib, in the bassinet, or anything. So, and this went on for, the sleeping with me went on for years, but like the fear that pushed her to me have her sleep on me just went on for a long time. I didn't shower for days at a time. I didn't leave the house unless we were going to doctor's appointments. I just found myself just worried about everything. And I had a support system. So it wasn't just me. I had, her dad was in the house. My mother came and stayed for months. So it wasn't that I didn't have individuals around to help, but I couldn't get out of my own head. And then the worrying and the lack of sleep, of course, led to irritability. So everything just frustrated me. Like I didn't want to talk. Everything was just bothering me. And I can remember one day going in the bathroom and looking at myself in the mirror, and I kind of felt like, I don't know who this person is. But I never talked to anybody about it. I didn't talk to her dad. I didn't talk to family. I didn't talk to friends. I had my best friends we all had children within weeks of each other. We didn't talk about any of this. So I just was suffering quietly. So fast forward some years to my son. He is now 2.5. So when I arrived home with my son, the feelings were different. Like I felt more prepared just because I had gone through this with my daughter. I felt more prepared to have a child at home. I wasn't worried to the point of he has to sleep with me at night. But with my son, I was fighting these feelings of, why did I have another child? Should I have had another child? Was this the right move for me? I was breastfeeding nonstop. So I felt like he could never get enough food. It was like I would feed and then seconds later he was hungry again. He didn't sleep well through the night. So there were nights where every 45 minutes he would wake back up. So of course, in turn, I wasn't sleeping. At the same time, I'm trying to make sure that I'm giving my daughter the attention that she needs, because I know this is adjustment for her. She literally started kindergarten, I want to say 3 days after I brought my son home. And I felt like I needed to be giving and I was supposed to be happy, but I just felt empty. I felt like I had nothing to give anyone. I mean, I felt like I was a milk supplier, and other than giving milk, like I had nothing for anybody. I wasn't happy. I knew how to smile and make everyone think that I was fine, but inside I just was miserable. And I can vividly remember nights just in the middle of the night crying while everybody's sleeping, just tears rolling down my eyes, just trying to figure out, like, why am I not happy? Like, why am I feeling all these things? Like, you know, you have 2 beautiful children and like you can provide and you have a safe place and you should feel happy, but I was not. So fast forward, my son is 6 months old and then COVID hits. He had literally started daycare, and 3 weeks into starting daycare, COVID hits and daycare closes. And at 6 months, I had just started kind of feeling a little better, and then bam, everyone is back home. Like any kind of space that I thought I would have to continue to work on myself, I had to just readjust. And again, I didn't tell anyone what I was thinking. I didn't tell anyone what I was feeling. So for my experiences, I feel like I was fortunate because I was able to kind of navigate and get through them by myself. Like I had to find outlets. It took time. Like I leaned into journaling. Like walking for me was such a great thing. Like being outdoors and just being able to breathe the fresh air and get away like that really helped me. And then after having my son, like doing research and just looking into what I had been feeling and realizing like there are names for these feelings and other people are experiencing this. And like, this is normal. This is more normal than I think it is. And I found PSI and kind of I reached out to PSI and wanted to, and this was later on, like wanted to be able to support and connect with other moms and birthing people who were going through the same thing. But for me, as you can see, there was a pattern of going through things and not sharing it with anyone. I can remember being at the doctor's appointments and I had a great relationship with my doctor, but I didn't tell her anything. I kind of felt ashamed about what I was feeling and what I was going through. So I didn't want to burden anyone. I didn't want to put anything on other people. I was just like, Jen, you can navigate this. You're a strong woman, like you'll figure it out. And I feel like that's often the story for new moms and birthing people. And especially when we talk about Black mothers, we experience higher prevalence of PMADs relative to the population overall. And it's largely underreported and symptoms are unaddressed. So we are often suffering in silence. And that's where I found myself. And when we think about some of the reasons for this, specifically with Black moms, is systemic racism and socioeconomic status often play a huge part in this. And in the Black community, we are like less likely to reach out and receive treatment for any mental health illnesses when we think about as compared to other racial and ethnic groups. So I would say one of the main things that we can kind of do is normalize having these conversations. I feel like I have the best mother in the world, but we didn't talk about postpartum depression or anxiety or PMADs. And I'm sure her mother didn't talk to her about it. And I didn't talk to my friends. It wasn't normal to have those kind of conversations before pregnancy or during pregnancy. So if there was one thing that I wish and that I'll make sure that, you know, I do is having these conversations. So you're not caught so off guard where you feel like, oh my goodness, like something is wrong with me to the point that I am alone in this. Because you're not alone. Other people are going through the same thing and there's a name for it and there's ways that you can navigate it. So I am still, again, I am a worrier, and I was before, and I continue to be to an extent, but I also feel like I have figured out how to stop myself from going down the path of the what ifs and what ifs and what ifs that I used to do. Like I just know, I know myself well enough, and I know Dr. Hoskins talked about this. I know myself. So I know if I'm starting to go down that way, that I have to pivot my thinking and like go to those outlets that really helped me before. So thank you. Thank you for again.
And that was, thank you. That was so vulnerable. I really appreciate that.
Of course.
I'll just bring up one thing, if I may.
Sure.
Go ahead, Dr.
I think Jen said it. She gave you an example of knowing yourself. I know I'm a worrier. The only thing I would add, so she knew that this is her trigger thing. Anything that's around her, she's going to worry for the sake of her own safety, her child's safety. The other thing is she said, I didn't speak to anybody. So you can see where she did the correct thing of knowing herself, but the not correct thing of not bringing it up, because she said the expectation is it's supposed to be joyful, it's supposed to be good. There's a lot to learn from what Jen described as the person who went through it. She's like our example, and we can dissect those things out, but just listen to the categories, know yourself. And then she made the mistake of not bringing it up. If she had, she wouldn't have suffered so much. And luckily nothing bad happened. And the third category is that she learned her trigger points. It took a long time. It was painful. So to me, this for tonight, this was a perfect like a example to really go back and redissect and learn from.
Thank you, Dr. Hoskins. Now it's time to talk about how to cope, how to ask for help, how to get help. Although these topics have traditionally been really hard to talk about, we've talked about that this entire evening. The good news is that we are seeing more and more parents speaking up about what they're going through during things like this webinar. Of our BabyCenter community, 30% are seeking support in the form of virtual therapy. That's awesome. 30% are prioritizing self-care, and 28% are taking vitamins and supplements. I would call that a huge win. I don't know what the numbers were before now, but I do think the numbers are only going to climb, and they're going to climb because we're talking about it. Mandy, I would love for you to go through some of these tangible tips for navigating this postpartum period when we're in the moment, when we're in the throes of breastfeeding and bottle feeding and pumping and sleepless nights. Can you talk us through some of the things you work with your patients and clients on?
Most definitely. And first, I just want to say thank you to Jen. I see all the love in the chat as well, and for sharing your story and that vulnerability, and also just this whole panel, because I think it's really powerful that we talk as professionals, but also as people. And I've struggled with anxiety through my whole life. I had undiagnosed postpartum anxiety, and it wasn't until my work in becoming a doula that I really wrapped my head around that and felt like I could discuss it and then use that to help support other people. So everything I'm about to share is both rooted in my work as a doula, but also it comes from a place of a lot of heart. So knowing the signs, I know we've talked about this in different ways, but just to reaffirm, knowing the signs is huge. The common signs of postpartum depression, anxiety, OCD, psychosis, it's not to scare you, but to prepare you and to make sure your partner or support person knows them too. As we've discussed, when you're in the thick of new parenthood, self-identifying is often the hardest thing. It's a huge roadblock to care. So, really making sure that the support person, your partner, family, friends, whomever's closest to you, or everyone who's in that orbit, who's going to be with you, especially in that immediate postpartum, making sure that they're aware. And I would say, this might sound funny, but do not take those general quizzes online about depression, like poor sleep, changed eating habits, having no energy, like those are all applicable to new parents. So they don't really apply here. It's really about postpartum. Like, what are those signs and symptoms of postpartum conditions? And like others have talked about, like follow how you're feeling, because you know yourself. And these things can also manifest differently for people. So it doesn't always look like what we think traditional depression, say, for instance, might look like. You may be crying every day, but it could also be that you're having repetitive thoughts that scare you or alarm you. You may feel like you don't want to hold your baby. You may feel like you're kind of manic and you don't want to act like you had a baby and you want to do all of the things. You may be afraid to leave the house or having explosive anger. Like rage is a thing, and these can all, like, these various conditions can manifest in different ways. So knowing yourself and knowing when you're not feeling like yourself is key. And I think I also want to acknowledge that folks who've had birth trauma, a NICU stay, a rainbow baby, an unplanned C-section, those all compound the normal difficulties that we experience in birthing and postpartum. So if any of those apply to your circumstance, like, absolutely know that, feel seen in that, and make sure to understand the signs of these various conditions. And tell someone. We were just talking about this. I think stigma really stops us. And speaking personally, but also as a doula, I think the term mental illness can feel really heavy and very loaded and triggering. And we can also have fear that if we say something, you know, if we have these feelings, one, and then two, if we say something, we won't be a good mother. And there's so much shame in being a good mother or not being a good mother. So, you know, I tend to try to keep it simple and just say, if you don't feel like yourself, share that feeling. You don't have to quantify it. You don't have to, you know, even though you know the warning signs of things, also just, you don't have to like perseverate over what these terms are if they're very triggering for you. So share with the people in your orbit if you're feeling something, you know, say something. And if you don't feel safe sharing it with anyone in your immediate space or circle, check out the warm lines and the hotlines that I know we're going to share, I think both in the chat and the webinar materials. Something that came up in one of the BabyCenter questions I thought was really great. It was about different emotions during different times of day. So I thought it'd be helpful to talk about very briefly, common but okay, and common but not okay. So it's very normal for having a roller coaster of hormones in the first 2 weeks postpartum. The hormones are ricocheting, you're transitioning into the 24-hour life, which is crushing. It's very different than what life was like before baby. So that's pretty normal. We can expect to see that up and down. And also the witching hour is a very real thing. So around 6 to 9 p.m., if baby they get overstimulated really easily. So if they haven't napped well and they're overstimulated, they're going to show it around that time, typically 6 to 9 p.m. And at that time, you've been caregiving all day. You're exhausted. You're going to have a lot of big feelings. It's going to be really hard. So that is also pretty common and okay. And if you need support people around because it's not okay, you know, please then enlist some help at that time. So those things, you know, generally common and are okay. But if you're not feeling like yourself, you know, the swings are continuing, or whatever you're feeling that doesn't feel like you is continuing like 3 weeks and out. Or if others are telling you you don't seem like yourself or making comments, like, please listen to that, and then try to seek support. And the other ones I'll just quickly go through. Limiting social. I don't think anyone's going to be surprised that I say that. It can be categorically every study shows that compare and despair happens. The longer we're on social media, the worse we feel about ourselves. It's really triggering for anxiety and depression. So if there's a community you love, fantastic. If there's influencers you feel like you really connect with, that's awesome. Visit those things and then get out. When you're feeding baby and scrolling and endlessly scrolling, that's when all of a sudden you can lose a sense of time and like just feel really not in a great place. So limiting social can be a powerful thing. And sleep. We've talked about this in a few different ways. I feel like when we hear sleep when the baby sleeps, it's really like a lot of folks want to roll their eyes, and I get it. And, I'll say this, like the idea of go, go, go and sleep at night works before the baby arrives. But that's not what life is like after the baby arrives. So it's truly a 24-hour clock, particularly in the first few weeks, first few months, through that fourth trimester, those first 90 days. So getting chunks of sleep whenever possible is really, really important. Delegate as much as possible to get naps in, stop cleaning whenever possible. Again, ignore social, and don't entertain when you don't want to. That might sound really simple, but I see a lot of parents really struggle with that, and they don't sleep because they're doing all these things during the day. So very important, because it's tied to your mental health. Your sleep needs are tied to your mental health. And I've also seen sleep deprivation cause a loss of gross motor control, which is also concerning when you're caring for an infant. So sleep as much as you can. Increments do count. It doesn't always have to be one continuous stretch at a time. And then the last thing I'll share is to go slow and allow yourself to be supported. Again, our I got this culture is really, really damaging and really, really tough. And so in the fourth trimester, especially, enlisting whomever you can to help you so you can shower, you can feed yourself, you can nap, and ideally get outside for 10 to 30 minutes a day. It's going to benefit your mental health and your physical health and support your postpartum recovery overall.
Thank you, Mandy. I really don't want this conversation to end. I feel like there's just so much rich content here and just personal experience. We are going to start to wrap up, but part of that is I really want to ask each panelist 1 to 2 sentences to leave our attendees with. So something, your biggest piece of advice that you've either learned through your own personal experience or your practice, just a couple sentences to wrap up. The biggest thing you can share with our attendees. Dr. Hoskins, do you want to start?
Thank you so much. And I loved what I heard tonight. I learned a lot myself, and I've been doing this for 35 years now. So that's very impressive. And happy belated Mother's Day to all the present and future mothers. I wish you much good health and happiness. What I want to say is a little bit of what everybody said. Know yourself, identify your tree trunk, the center of whatever, and know your trigger points. You heard that. Don't avoid sharing. You've heard all that. I wanted to say something based on what Mandy said, which is, this is your way to show your deep love for your child. That you have got to seek help for yourself. You've got to know yourself. You've got to learn what are your trigger points, everything that we've said. This is the best way you can show love for your child. It's a variant of putting on the mask on yourself first when that oxygen thing drops on the plane. So if there's one thing out of all this rambling that I've done, if there's one thing I would say, teach yourself that you're showing. Every mother wants to be loving to her child. Teach yourself that this is your loving gift to your child. Know yourself, identify your trigger points, communicate, ask questions, and preparation. Put all that into one envelope and write on the top of it, this is my gift in terms of loving my child.
I love that, Dr. Hoskins. Thank you. Jen, would you like to share?
Sure. So what I'm going to share is PSI's universal message, but it's so applicable. I feel like even to me, you are not alone. You are not to blame, and with help, you will be well. So you do not have to suffer in silence. There are so many resources out there. Don't feel like you have to just navigate it and figure it out on your own. Please talk to your support system and let them know. And there's so many resources out there. So those would be my final words to share.
Mandy, you want to wrap us up?
Yeah, so many different things I could say, but I will say, don't wait it out. Whatever it is, don't wait it out. Speak up. There is so much strength in asking for support. It is not a sign of weakness.
I love that. Well, unfortunately, I have to wrap this up. This has just been so, I told you guys in our practice session that it brings tears to my eyes because it truly does. You women are amazing, and I just feel so honored that I was here with you tonight. I want to thank Dr. Hoskins, Mandy, Jen, again, an honor to be here. Our BabyCenter community, you guys rock. Look at this chat going on and the love and the hearts. I just love this so much. It's much needed in our world right now. So thank you, BabyCenter community. Of course, our sponsor, Baby Dove. And then I want to give a shout out to my behind the scenes BabyCenter team for helping make this happen. They rock. And then I do want to go through some resources. There are just so many resources out there. I know that BabyCenter has been sharing them in the chat this evening, and they'll also be located on our landing page that we've also shared a link to. But BabyCenter, ACOG, PSI, Major Care, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration are all here for you. And then, like I said, information for all of those has been shared throughout tonight and is being shared now. Of course, to speak with someone now about how you're feeling, please reach out to the National Maternal Mental Health Hotline, which is actually new, also in the chat. And our sponsor, Baby Dove, is also working hard to raise awareness and inspire real conversation about navigating the pressure of early motherhood. Join them on babydove.com to find resources and to read postpartum stories from moms. Share your own postpartum story on social with their hashtag #OneRealPressure to help other moms know they're not alone. And Dina will add some links there as well. Thank you so much, panelists. Oh my goodness, thank you. And thank you to everyone who joined. We had such an amazing group here tonight, and we just hope you feel less alone and more empowered in your postpartum and mental health journey. We hope to see you during our next BabyCenter Roundtable. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Be safe, everybody. Be safe.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.